Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we'll look at some of the important SQL Server commands that we use on our daily life. So we have create database, which is used to create a database, drop database, which you can use to delete existing databases, create table to create a table, alter table to modify a table, drop table to delete a table, create index to create a search key or indexes on the table. So drop index is nothing but to drop these indexes. And we have data manipulation commands, which are select, update, delete, insert into. We'll look at one at each time with examples. So for example, if you see on your left side, we only have two databases, which is data manager, data store. So now to create a new database, what we can use is we can use create database and database name. So if I execute this command, so it says command executed successfully, and if I refresh the server, I can see testdb. So when testdb is created, you will see all these folders by default. And if you expand this tables folder, we don't have any other tables because we haven't created anything yet. So if you want to delete this DB, all you can do is write drop database command and then write the database name. So if I execute this, this is gone. So if I expand this, the testdb database is gone. So similarly, let's create one more time. So we have the testdb. And to create a table, this is the syntax we are going to use. This is the command. So test table, then table name students. What are the columns you need to have? So I set student as int and primary key. So you can also add it as an identity key. What is identity in the sense? Identity will increment itself when you add a new record into this table. For example, if we see, um, so identity key is nothing but if you see 1 comma 1. So this is the incrementer, this is the interval you are giving. So you are saying increase this by 1 every time. So when you every time you insert a record, it keeps inserting it. So here you have few other columns, that is first name, last name, age, grade. So based upon the type of the column, you have assign the data type as well. First name will be a string, that's why you are saying varchar, and you are giving limit as 50. Last name also varchar 50. Age is age will be a number, right? So we are giving int. Grade, it will be A B C D E F G and so on, right? So we have given character, which is of 2 character length. So let's execute this. So one thing we have to keep in mind that, so if you execute this directly, what happens is it will create this table in this master database. So you have to make sure you are pointing to your database. So three ways to point your database. One is you can click here, you can select the test DB directly from here. So and then you can execute this command. That's one way. Second way is if you press Control U, yeah, it will take you here. And if you test DB will come up, and you can click enter. So that will change your database context. The third way is you can directly hard code your uh, database name. So just like this. So if you say something like this, that means you are executing this command again as this DB. So this is DB, this is schema, this is table name. So if you don't want to do this, all you can do is, let's say if it is pointing to master. So now you see this command use test DB, which is nothing but it will change this database automatically. Watch here what happens. So if I execute this, that will change your DB context. So you can run this whole command, which will create your table. So once that is created, then you can run a select and see if the table is created or not. So SQL Server intelligence is figuring out there is a table with students. When you start typing students, then it is trying to figure out, okay, there is a table. So there is nothing in this table because we just created as brand new. Now, so once you create the table, now you decided to add email ID into this table. So currently we don't have email ID column here. Now you decided to add email ID. So you can do alter table, add email. So the column name. So this is the command alter table, altering the students table and adding this column of varchar, which is of 100 length. So when you execute this, this now the query is executed. Now if you check, the email column should have been added. So if you see, the column is added here. Similar way, you can drop the table by using the drop command. If I click on this one, so now if you go and check the DB, you will be able to see. If you refresh it and check the expand the DB and see, you have the table students. So now if you want to drop this table, simple, you are saying drop table and table name. So that will delete the table that we created. Let's check. So there is no table. So we are going to create it again. We have the table. Now we are going to add the column again. So we have the column as well. Now you can create an index. So let's see if our table is present here. So we have our table. Now if you expand the table, there is some folder called indexes, which is nothing but your primary key, because here you added as a primary key. Whenever you add anything as a primary key, an automatic index will be created that is called a clustered index. If you expand this also, it will say clustered, nothing but this is the primary index on the table. So anything you add in the future will become the non-clustered index. It's kind of a secondary index. So you don't have to say that explicitly it's a non-clustered index. So a table can have only one primary index and can have multiple clustered indexes and non-clustered indexes. So it can have only one clustered index and it can have multiple non-clustered indexes. That's one of the interview question uh, interviewers may ask. So now I'm going to create this index. So I created it, refresh the database, check the table, check the indexes. You see uh, last name is added as a non-clustered index, which is nothing but a secondary index. So now if you want to drop it, simple, you say drop index and index name and on the table. So once you execute this, that is gone. You can refresh, check indexes, that is gone. So now this is a select query. This is a select command where you can check these columns. You can either say select star from students table, or you can either write column names to select it from the table. So if I run this select, there is nothing because we don't have any data inside the table. So now let's insert the data into the table. This is how you can insert the data into the table. For example, I can insert by just writing insert into students table name, all the columns, and then values as student ID as one, first name Emma, last name Johnson, age, grade, and email. This is one way of inserting it. So it is throwing error because since you are added identity as students ID as identity, it is complaining you are trying to insert an identity key, you are trying to override an identity key, because it will, when you create an identity key on a table, it will automatically get the information um, that is available in the next sequence. So you don't have to write it this way. In case if you don't have this identity here, so let's say I'm dropping this table first. I'll, I'll execute until here. This will create a table, alter a table. So now I don't have the identity key, it's just a student's table. Now if I try to insert this query, it will accept the data. Similarly, it will accept all this. But if you create it as an identity, that will not accept the identity key by itself unless you explicitly say turn off the identity and insert this value into the table. So now let's create the table with identity again. So I'm creating the table using the identity and now adding the column. And now here I don't want to say the student ID because by itself the SQL Server will be able to give these IDs when we enter the data. So now I will say insert into. So now it is taking the values. So if you look into the table now, if you run a select on this table, so ID 1 is automatically assigned since it's an identity key which will increment one by one. So you have everything here. Similarly, if you insert this, it will take the value in the next sequence. So student's ID. It took the next ID. Similarly, it will take all other values. You don't have to write down the IDs. Whatever available in the next sequence, it will take it. So this is other way. This is one way of inserting data. This is the other way where you can just say values and you don't have to say insert into all the time. So you can just keep by the comma separated, you can keep adding the values again and again. That will take the values to the table. So you can run it. So 5 rows inserted. Now if you see, this table may have 7 rows in it. So 7 rows, IDs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It keeps incrementing by 1. So if you see now, one record have A as a grade. So now you want to update that one record to B. So that is where update comes into the picture, where you are saying update this table. Set is nothing but you are assigning a column name with that value. So you are saying assign grade value equal to B where student ID is 1. So you are saying for wherever the student ID is 1, you change the grade to B, whatever the value, we don't mind. We want to change that to B. So now if I run this query and check the table, it is changed to B. That's where the update comes into picture. Now here this query is saying delete the record which is present in the student table where student ID is 1. So this will delete entire information from the table for that record. So if I run this query and check the table, we don't have ID 1, we have rest of the records. So this is how you can play with the most important commands. Most likely these are the commands we use it all the time, but we use it in a different way. We can talk about that in more detail in the upcoming videos. Thank you.